Hi, everybody, it's Mrs. Buckman, and I'm going to be walking you through 16.6, The Pioneer Women, while you take notes on Western settlers. So, you have been assigned Pioneer Women, and you are going to be looking for their reasons for settling. So, why did they move west? What were the hardships that they faced? What was their legacy? So, what did they leave behind? Why are we still talking about them? And then anything that you find interesting about them that you haven't already listed here. And so, again, our topic is Pioneer Women. We're going to read 16.6 together. The Pioneer Women. Women pioneers shared in the danger and the work of settling the West. Most of these women were wives and mothers, but some were single women with motives of seeking husbands, homesteads, or other new opportunities. Pioneer women not only helped to shape the future of the West, but also earned new status for themselves and for women throughout the United States. And so the first thing is, what was their reason for settling? Well, a lot of these women settled simply because they were the mothers and the wives of um, of male settlers. Other, however, were single women who were seeking homesteads, which would be a home to start, or a husband, or any other kind of new opportunity. The next thing we're looking for, guys, are the hardships that they faced. Between 1840, so on the trail, between 1840 and 1869, about 350,000 people traveled west in covered wagons. Most westward bound pioneers gathered each spring near Independence, Missouri. There, they formed columns of wagons called wagon trains. The journey lasted 4 to 6 months and covered about 2,000 miles. Wagon space was so limited that pioneers were forced to leave most of the comforts of home behind. When the way became steep, they often had to toss out the few treasures they managed to bring. The Oregon Trail was littered with furniture, china, books, and other cherished objects. Women were expected to do the work they had done back home, but while traveling 15 to 20 miles a day. They cooked, washed clothes, and took care of the children. Meals on wheels were simple. About the only change we have from bread and bacon, wrote Helen Carpenter, is to bacon and bread. The daily drudgery wore many women down. Lavinia Porter recalled, "I would make a brave effort to be cheerful and patient until the camp work was done. Then starting out ahead of the team and my menfolks, when I thought I had gone beyond hearing distance, I would throw myself down on the unfriendly desert and give way like a child to sobs and tears." And so there are more hardships that they faced, but absolutely, um, women were expected to do a lot of work. They were expected to cook, to wash clothes. They took care of the children. They did all of this while traveling 15 to 20 miles a day. That's a lot. Trail hazards. The death toll on the trail was high. Disease was the worst killer. Accidents were also common. People drowned crossing rivers. Indian attacks were rare, but the prospect of them added to the sense of danger. By the end of the journey, each woman had a story to tell. Some had seen buffalo stampedes and prairie fires on the Great Plains. Some had almost frozen to death in the mountains or died of thirst in the deserts, but most survived to build new lives in the West. One group of pioneer women, African Americans who had escaped from slave states or who were brought west by their owners, faced a unique danger. Even though slavery was outlawed in most of the West, bounty hunters were often able to track down fugitive slaves. But for some African American women, the move west brought freedom. For example, when Biddy Mason's owner tried to take her from California, a free state, to Texas, Mason sued for her freedom and won. She moved to Los Angeles, where she became a well-known pioneer and community leader. So going back up to the top, let's talk about more of the hardships, right? Death toll, right, was high. We know that. Disease was horrible. Accidents were common. People drowned, right? Indian attacks weren't really that much of a hazard. It really didn't happen that much, all right? For black women, for black pioneer women, there was another danger, all right? And the danger was that bounty hunters were able to track down fugitive slaves in the West, even though they technically weren't supposed to. But that is a hardship that some women faced when they moved out west. The pioneer women's legacy. The journey west changed pioneer women. The hardships of the trail brought out strengths and abilities they did not know they possessed. I felt a secret joy, declared one Oregon pioneer, in being able to have the power that set things going. Women did set things going. Wherever they settled, schools, churches, libraries, literary societies, and charitable groups soon blossomed. Annie Bidwell, for example, left behind a remarkable legacy. When Annie married John Bidwell, she moved to his ranch in what is now the town of Chico, California. There she taught sewing to local Indian women and helped their children learn to read and write English. Annie convinced John to give up drinking. He closed the tavern that had been part of his home and encouraged the building of Chico's first church. Annie was active in other causes as well, including the movement to give women a right that had long been denied them in the East, the right to vote. Wyoming Territory led the way by granting women the right to vote in 1869. By 1900, a full 20 years before women across the nation would win the right to vote, women were voting in 4 western states. The freedom and sense of equality enjoyed by women in the West helped pave the way for more equal treatment of women throughout the United States. This was perhaps the greatest legacy of the women pioneers. And so women created things when they moved west. When they created new towns, they didn't just set up their own homes. They set up schools. They set up churches. They set up libraries, literary societies, charitable groups. And not only that, but they helped to pioneer more equal treatment for women. They were able to win the right to vote a full 20 years before women on the East were able to do that. That's a huge deal. In the West, women helped to pave the way for more equal treatment of women throughout the United States. So that's a huge legacy that pioneer women have. Now, the last thing you need to do is to find an interesting fact. Fill in all your notes, and these notes you'll be turning into your slideshow. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.